so let me throw a little music on here for the intro. Okay. Check, check. Can you guys hear me? Cool. Okay, reverse stock split theory, week 2. Okay, so we're going to go over tools today. We're going to do 2 parts for you guys. The first part will be specifically for the reverse stock split theory on how I use all the different tools. I will do a separate set of videos for the absolute beginners. We have quite a few beginners in the group. And since I will go through like how you set up like Thinkorswim or using stocks to trade or using equity feed. So we will not go into details of the actual tools. I'll be doing that later because I want to make sure that these webinars are very informative. So later on we'll have those more in depth of how to use each of the tools available for you guys. All right, so what are we actually dealing with? These are going to be the actual applications, aka programs that people are going to be using. This is what we normally pay for, like either through a broker or like Stocks to Trade or Interactive Brokers, E-Trade, all those types of things. So we'll be going through those type of programs. One thing to come to terms with is there's no perfect program whatsoever. Nothing is 100% reliable. They all have issues. Some have more issues than others. And then we'll go into the deep dive of how I use them for the actual reverse stock split theory. Okay, so my #1 favorite tool for the reverse stock split theory is going to be Thinkorswim. And the reason for this is because they have on-demand. And the on-demand, you can go back years of history with price action. You can see what the chart really looked like back in 2010, 2011, 2015. You can see the intraday chart of the stock. You can see the daily chart of the stock. And that has been very powerful. Before I even got to the this group here, I would go through Profitly, check out everybody's trades. Like for example, Roland's trades, when he started showing really good profits, I would build out his trades to see how he traded and what he did with it. I did that for Dux, I did it for Roland, I did it for LX21. So I did it for Mark Crook to see what they were able to do and what they were really looking at. When I was going through the Timothy Sykes DVDs and video lessons, I will pull up the charts in real time to see what it looks like, because actually at that moment in time, the way all those DVDs are made and webinars are made, you just didn't get a good sense of what was really happening on the whole overall picture of it. So I love the on-demand feature. I'll pull it up right here in a minute for you guys. But one thing I wanted you guys to take a note of is the common shares outstanding with thinkorswim. I have gone through hundreds of reverse stock split filings and comparing it to the common shares outstanding, because at the time you really can't tell what their float is at that moment in time. And the best thing to do is just use the common shares outstanding, because you'll know that'll be the maximum of whatever the float will be. And then, for on the safe side, you can knock off like 10% or 20%, whatever you feel that is a good safe idea of what the float shall be. Through that process of the past year and a half of going through each of these stocks, I would do the on-demand, load it up, and then I would compare that to the SEC filings at that moment of time and see if the common shares outstanding matched thinkorswim. And eerily enough, it matched almost exact, maybe like 10 shares off or 20 shares off. That's about it. It was so accurate through it. So with the thinkorswim, when you load it up, you'll have your watch list and you can have your shares on there. That's the common shares outstanding. In that common shares outstanding, that's the shares that was outstanding at that exact moment of time. And that's super important to know, because we all know that a stock that has 30 million shares outstanding compared to 5 million shares outstanding trades in a whole different way. And by having this accurate number for the common shares outstanding changes the whole game plan of how you can visualize how these stocks move. And then if you play the on-demand feature of it, you'll be able to see how the stock actually moved throughout the day. Another a very interesting thing about I use for the common shares outstanding now is when I'm doing my research on a stock, I can tell that they're doing dilution without having to research all the filings. So what I'll do is, for an example, if we did a reverse stock split that we're researching today, I can go back, let's say, from today to the beginning of the year, and I'll see what the common shares outstanding is. And if the common shares outstanding jumps up quite a bit from, say, January 1st of 2018 to, March, was this March 8th of 2019, I know they've been actively diluting the stock immediately. So, that's one key thing that I want to look at is, are they actively diluting it? And if they are, like, for example, there was a stock that did no diluting from January 2018 all the way up until September of 2018, but all of a sudden, when they put their requirements with NASDAQ listing, they diluted their stock by like 10 million shares. So you knew the game plan that they were doing on there. As you guys are doing your research through this, utilize this tool of common shares outstanding to allow you down the road. So when we're doing real-time stocks like BPTH, you know how to utilize these tools. So, this is the training ground that we're working through as you guys are going to be collecting the reverse stock splits to be able to figure out how these future stocks will be working. So yes, it's going to take a lot of time to going through this, but rely on the fact that this is the training point of us being able to be in real time with these monster moves that we'll be able to have. So yeah, so common shares outstanding with thinkorswim is absolutely accurate in there. You get the chart history with that, and then you also get to be able to do the watch list import with thinkorswim in a bulk format. So what I did is I go through all the Fidelity years. So it literally takes about 30 minutes to collect all the reverse stock splits for one particular year. You collect them all up, throw them into an Excel sheet, and then you can bulk import them into thinkorswim. I know other platforms have their different capabilities to do along with it. I just personally really like the thinkorswim bulk import system that they have. So you'll have to check on your platform on how to be able to do that, but I will show you how to do the bulk platform in thinkorswim. The other cool thing about thinkorswim is they have ThinkScripts. And in ThinkScripts, you can add added functionality if you know how to code. Some of you guys may not know how to code, and you guys could look online to find maybe a coder to help you out with certain things. I personally know how to code. I got my degree in computer animation and graphics with a minor in computer programming, so I'm able to create my own code. with it, and then I'll show you where to find help for adding code on there. So I know some of you guys are computer majors or computer programmers, and you'll be able to access this as well. The next tool that I have is Stocks to Trade. Now, I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about Stocks to Trade with it, but there is one particular feature within Stocks to Trade that is absolutely amazing, and that is the history feature of the stock. So let me go ahead and pull up Stocks to Trade here. So give me 1 second, and I want to show you guys this. Okay, so here is Dry's. So this is like one of my favorite stocks to use as an example. And in Stocks to Trade, you have the news here, and they have SEC filings. Now, I don't like so much the SEC filings within Stocks to Trade, so I don't use this. But what I do like about Stocks to Trade is this section here, loading up. See here, click here to load up more. You can load up the history of the stock going back years. So this is the snap shot of Dry's 2016 before it did its monster move from like $2 to like $110. And this is where it kicks off the big move. You know, what news came out about that stock at that moment in time to make it run big? So these are the types of things that you guys are going to be looking for. You know, this was not an accident about the reverse stock split, about the shipping vessel coming out and then it just running monster, and then the float that was available at the time too. So let's look this up real quick with the on-demand and Dry's. So we're going to do Dry's, okay, and then we're going to go to on-demand. All right, and then we're going to have 2016, I believe. What do we have here? So, you know, these numbers are going to be skewed because of the reverse splits. But if you look over here in the level 2, it tells you what that price was trading at that time. It actually pulls the level 2, and sometimes it'll pull the time and sales for that. It's one of the things I really love about how the Thinkorswim system actually does work. So you can change it to, see, we're on the 15th. You know, that's a Tuesday. Go to the 14th. You know, Monday, where it was trading at $22. You can see the price action of how the stock was trading, how the squeeze capabilities were happening with it. Let's go to Friday. As we all know, a Friday squeeze play, right? So we got down to $14 over here. And let's go to Thursday. It's kind of interesting. I haven't looked all this stuff up, but it's pretty eerie compared to everything else that we just got in trading, right? $4 over here. So, you know, you can get the price action as it loads up through here of how the stock was trading. There'll be little inconsistencies with this, but you'll be able to kind of get a good idea of all the price action and what was happening with it and what the stock was doing. So these are the things I like to do with it, and this is what's so amazing about these stocks. So let me go to my reverse stock split list. This is 2016. And we have Dry's. Okay, so 2016 Dry's, shares outstanding, 400,000 shares. You know, so instead of having to go through all the different filings trying to see what's going at, this is a pretty amazing tool to see where Dry's float currently was at that moment in time when it did this monster move. You know, these are the things that you want to take note, and then go into the filings and double check it. You know, don't always take it for 100% accuracy, but, you know, go through the work and seeing how the stock works, right? So cool stuff. it's really neat when you be able to see like BPTH and then be able to go back through here and look at your notes to see how these things compare to each other, the price movement and all that type of stuff. So, all right. Well, yeah. So, stocks to trade gives you all the information that was coming out at this moment in time. To be able to find this information in a snapshot like this is very difficult to do on different websites. But this here gives you SEC filings at that moment in time, mixed into their, the PR that they're doing with the company at the same time as well. Awesome stuff. I mean, this is incredible. And then I'll show you the next step of what I am able to use for this types of things. Okay, so that's stocks to trade. Let me okay, so here's a little bonus for you guys. Code, hello world. So this is my little bit of code that I've created and that you guys will be able to have access to. If you guys notice with Equity Feed on Roland's DVD, he has the 5-minute change and the 10-minute change to be able to utilize the Equity Feed to see what's moving within more towards the end of the day. Well, I created code in Thinkorswim to be able to do that for you guys. You guys will be getting the PDFs of the actual code within there, so you can guys be able to copy and paste. But let me go ahead and pull up Thinkorswim here for you guys. And so how do you add code is going to be the question. So in your watch lists here, you'll have this little gear box. And you'll click on Customize. And then what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down here. And I believe it's Custom, or did I miss it? Here we go. Custom 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can be able to add that over. And then when you add it over, it pops up with your code that you can just go ahead and copy and paste it. And then I will get into more details of how to copy and paste it. But basically, you put the column name, and then you put the time frame of how it works. And I'll do a little mini lesson on how all the stuff works with time frames. So I don't bore everybody with getting off topic. And then another part in here is on their chat setup board. They have the chat room, and then they have, I think, a script lounge. And this is where there's other programmers in here, and then you can paste your code, and you can be able to talk with them in here. Here, I'll just give you guys another little bonus. I know a lot of people talk about Begonzi Live. Let's see here, let me get out of this. Chat rooms. The Begonzi Squat Box, this is what the wire is, where they do announcements. You can run the Begonzi Squat Box without having to pay for it in here. Pretty good stuff, pretty cool stuff. All right, let's get back to, all right, so that's your code. That's a little bonus for you guys. You don't have to pay anybody to do coding for you. Oh, let me show you what it looks like in Thinkorswim. So this is the Thinkorswim. Right now we're on demand, so let me get it off to on demand. But here's the custom code for 10 minutes and 5 minutes on here, so you can see the changes. Pretty slick. And you can make your adjustments from there. All right, next section. Okay, Excel. We all been taught on using Excel to track our trades. With it, you got formulas that you can do with it. I like to use Excel with Internet Explorer to be able to copy and paste the Fidelity stuff, so you can be able to just copy from the website and put it in there, and you can save it as a bulk website. One of the big key things with Excel is you can save it as a CSV file. When you save it as a CSV file, then you can import it and export it into multiple different programs. Basically, what CSV file means is a comma delimited file, so it shows everything with little commas into it. I also do use Notepad The problem sometimes with moving from one program to another program is there's junk code that's included in with it. So for an example, Excel, depending on what version of Excel you're running, will add its own Excel code into it. And so other programs will not like it when that code's included in there. So if you have any problems with importing or exporting your files that you've created with your CSV file, open it up in Notepad and then just resave it with Notepad. And when it does that, it strips away all this excess of code. It's little tricks I learned from my college days. Okay, OneNote is how I build out the companies. I really love OneNote because I can be able to, when I copy or paste anything from websites, it automatically includes a hyperlink in there, and it gives me my information. I'm not very good at tracking stocks with Excel. Everybody talks about, oh, you're going to put up the setup. It's going to be the gap and crap, or it's going to be the overnight or first screen day or 52-week high, whatever your setups are. I'm not really good at putting that into an Excel sheet and then trying to track those trades. I am working on that process. That's kind of like my weak point. But what I do with OneNote is I do more of a visual way of doing my stocks. I take clippings of the pictures of the stock. I put my notes in there, what I was thinking, what I was feeling at the time. I'm really am working on not being so emotional with my entries and my exits, and I'm having a big struggle with that. So I'm doing that little journal through that with my OneNote. I also have like all my reverse stock split theory into it, and it crosses back and forth with other programs as well. The next piece of tool that has just been recently added to my repertoire of stuff is Equity Feed. Similarly enough, Equity Feed works a lot like Stocks to Trade, or Stocks to Trade works like a lot like Equity Feed. The reason why I decided to bite the bullet and add another software that I have to pay for every year is because I kept on missing out on SEC filings, notifications of news with it. And what I've been starting to notice through the chat rooms is that Equity Feed is amazingly good at giving you a notification of a new filing, especially filings, a new filing going through, news coming out, PR for the company coming out through it. So I haven't been using Equity Feed for charting at all. I'm starting to slowly work through all that type of stuff, but I am using it for my scanning. I find it extremely well with the scanning. I also have my Stocks to Trade with my scanning as well, so I'm kind of going back and forth, learning between the two different platforms. But the biggest thing is the notifications, and then I use that life hack that we had in week 1 of the series, where I put my phone number slash AT&T.net email address on there, and now on my phone, I get a notification that a filing came out. So for an example, the other day I was driving in between these two towns I'm in, and there's nothing but cornfields everywhere. I don't have data access on my phone through AT&T because I'm in the middle BFE nowhere, and a text message comes through that a filing happened on a stock I'm watching. I think that's absolutely powerful. To be able to have a notification no matter where you're at any time on these reverse stock splits, because time is of the essence on a lot of these splits. You know, the news goes out and then it runs. So at least you're aware of it and it's happening right away. I mean, I know Papa John was pretty stoked when he messaged me and saying, hey, I woke up and I got my notifications from Equity Feed and they're on my phone. You know, they're right there. Whereas like, I notice when you load up Equity Feed, and I may be wrong for this, but when you load up Equity Feed, it doesn't have the notifications of what's been sent out. But at least on my phone, I have a record of these notifications coming out. In all, I spend way too much on these services, but I believe that this is becoming one of the best systems that I've found for myself. I know everybody's different and what they can be able to find, but this is what I use the most of. Bonus tool, Mouse Without Borders. This by far is absolutely amazing. So basically what it is right now is I have 2 laptops put together right now, and I have like 4 other screens. I'm traveling. I'm with my grandmother. She's sick, and so I've been stuck here for a little bit over a month now. And what I really love is this fact that I can use one mouse going from computer to computer. I can copy and paste between the two. This is an amazing tool to be able to utilize for you animals who have like 10 screens and you want 10 more screens set up, and you buy a couple more computers, guys. You can do up to 4 computers, string up all these screens that you want together, and then you can copy and paste between them all. I've been using it since I've been here. Just a little FYI, you must have internet access to be able to utilize the mouse without borders. That's basically how it works, and it talks between the two. Pretty cool software. Here's the link to be able to download it. It's easy to download. It's easy to install. It's easy to set up. The other thing that was pretty neat that I liked about it is with 2 different laptops, I can use the mouse on one laptop and scroll it over to the other computer, and then I can move it from the other computer back onto that laptop, and I can swap back and forth between the computers. I can use the different computer keyboards, and I can use the mouse that's connected via Bluetooth. So really cool piece of software. I really like it. So I hope you guys find power within that. Okay, so make sure I covered everything. Code, Thinkorswim, stocks to trade. All right, I think I covered all of that. Okay, the web tools. This is where I'm going to be grabbing most of my information. For me, web tools are totally different than application tools or platform tools. It's hard to find that collection of websites to be able to do all of the tools on there. I remember at the very beginning when I started this whole process, I didn't even know what FinViz was. NASDAQ, I didn't know how to use the NASDAQ website. Yahoo, you know, all this stuff was very foreign to me through this whole process. It's such a learning curve to be able to realize a lot of these tools that we use for stock trading are been there for years, and the information is there. It's just learning how to mine the websites for the data that you're looking for. So let's begin with Fidelity's website. This is where I go to hold all the reverse stock splits, and this is where I can go for years and years in the past. So let me pull this back up. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so the one quirk about Fidelity's website is that they take it down on the weekends. They don't have, I don't know why they take it down on the weekends, but it's not available on the weekends. And I remember my first week when I really got into this reverse stock split theory, and I was all about it, and I was gung-ho about it, and I jumped on the weekend on Saturday, and it was totally down. I was so heartbroken about it. So just go through there, copy and paste your stocks that you're looking for on here, and you can go back years. Another cool thing with this is you don't have to click on the previous month. You can go up to the URL, and you can go to the year, and you can go to the month. So since we're using DRYs as an example, so this is November 1st, 2016, and we can see that DRYs here had a 15-to-1 reverse stock split. This is the date they announced it, and this is the day they executed it. Pretty amazing that they did it one day after the other. You know, coincidence? No, I don't think so. So yeah, so you can go through these. There are these splits down here with these different symbols. I have no idea what these are for. I've totally ignored them. I don't know how to use them. I don't know how to analyze them. Everything for the reverse stock split theory is based upon the listing requirements for NASDAQ, Amex stocks. So I don't know anything about OTC and how OTC handles reverse stock splits. I haven't done any research on that, none of that type of stuff. So I don't know anything about it. But this is where I go to pick up these splits. I'll just highlight it here. I'll copy it, and then I'll paste it into my Excel sheet. And you know, I only grab these NASDAQ listed stocks through these. Any of these ones I don't touch because they're a funky reverse split. There could be a forward split or a backward split. What you'll also notice is that you'll have some crazy splits that are like 1 to 100 or 1 to 200. And you know, like Hemini did that. type of stock. Here's this one. RGW did a 1 to 3,500. Come on, you know what they're doing, you know. And if you don't know what they're doing right now when you're listening to this, by the time we get done with the whole webinar series, you will know what they're doing. So this is how I utilize Fidelity. When I go through the different dates, I come into here, I change the date here, and then I collect my reverse stock splits for it. And then you can just kind of move along from page to page on there. Pretty straightforward on it. Okay, so the next site we have is Stock Split History. Depending on your platform, you may or may not have easy access to the actually being a split in there. And sometimes, even like Thinkorswim, even though it has the icon of when the split has happened, as you go back further in the past, those icons will be they will not be there. So you can go to Equity, Fidelity, and it'll tell you that the reverse stock split happened, but in Thinkorswim, when you're going through the chart history, it's not there. So then that's when I go to stock split history, and then I'll enter in the stock, and then it'll give you the breakdown of every single reverse split for the stock. And, you know, go back on the thing is not all tool is 100% reliable. This is it. This is the reason why we have to go to multiple places to be able to find our data to be able to do this. So it gives you like a breakdown of how many times they did a reverse stock split, what they did, and what your money would be like if you bought it from back in the day. And pretty much everything's a wash. So I really do like this site to come through it. I also have it on my phone so I can be able to check stuff. Okay, so NASDAQ has their own split list. It looks like I didn't copy and paste that or make it into hyperlink. So let me pull that up. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so in the NASDAQ website, they have the calendar of upcoming splits. You just basically Google NASDAQ upcoming splits. I'll fix that for the presentation for the hyperlink. But this will tell you what's the upcoming splits. They don't tell you anything of the past. So I kind of find this limiting. But one thing is when stocks or companies decide to do a reverse split, it doesn't get broadcasted out to like Fidelity's website quickly. NASDAQ is, you know, one of the main places that holds all these reverse splits. You know, and so they'll put the NASDAQ upcoming reverse stock splits in here. So this is a good place to come to be able to check out if splits there. If not in here or in Fidelity, then you'll go to Yahoo to be able to see it. But I'm not a big fan of Yahoo, but I will show you what it looks like. But yeah, no history on this. All right, and then one of the most complicated things we have here, and it's always overwhelming for everybody, is EDGAR, the SEC filings, where they're actually held at. This is the actual place where, by law, SEC filings have to be held into the EDGAR system. All companies have to put all their filings into EDGAR. There was a lawsuit that was happening. So if you guys read the Dark Pools, The Rise of the Machines book, and it talks about how they were automating these stocks and to be able to get, you know, the numbers. So what they've done is they've made these filings machine readable. Which means that when, let's say, for example, Apple, who everybody trades, files their SEC filings, it goes onto the EDGAR system, and immediately these big prop firms or these big companies go through and devour these SEC filings. Well, these filings are massive, and the way they're able to immediately know what the stock is doing is they have these computer programs that will break apart an SEC filing, and they will immediately know if its news is good news or bad news with the company itself. And so, you know, EDGAR is the place that all these things are held at. There was a time frame where what was happening is the company that's responsible for putting these filings onto the EDGAR system was actually front-running the information to the prop firms or the bigger companies. And so there was a lawsuit that came out. Now we're talking like maybe a minute difference, but they were saying that was an unfair advantage to the mom and pop trader who didn't be able to look at these filings. And in reality is we don't even have the software to be able to do these filings, so we can't even like read them quickly. But the law went into effect saying that the first has to be placed onto the Edgar first, and then it can be sent over to these big old giant companies. Well, for us, now that we are learning the reverse stock split theory and we're knowing these filings of how to be able to break this down, we will get the notification immediately at the same time it's filed on Edgar, and we know what we can be able to do with this information, and that's extremely very powerful with it. That's just a little bit of history on it, and then let me go ahead and grab Edgar here. So the biggest thing that we all have a hard time with is how do you use Edgar? So what we're going to do is we're going to pull up Drives. And in Drives, we're going to have all the filings for Drives. So just like OTC markets. So like in OTC markets, you have the filings here, but it's nice and clean, right? It's easy to be able to understand here. But over here is all the filings that are go along with that. So let's find a little nugget here. Here we go. So when you go into these documents, let's go to this 424B2. And when you go into the document, it'll have these filings that go along with it. So one thing to be able to know is if you go underneath the bottom side, it'll tell, here's the computer written version of what they put into the filing itself. This is what gets processed by the big companies. And then over here is going to be their offering, right? But if you go down over here, this will tie you into where this offering ties into. And then you can be able to see what shelf that they use. Now this is a foreign company, and so you can go to the shelving of this actual company. You can see that they put an effect onto it, and then you can see all the all the offerings that they've put onto this from the shelf. So here's the offerings, but here's the shelf itself, and then from this you can be able to find out what they've done. And then here are their amendment files that they make adjustments to this offering. Once I figured this out, this blew my mind, because now you can know exactly what is tied to what with the company, especially with these offerings. And then you can be able to see, are they almost out of their shelf? And then you can go back and you can go back to this actual company here, and then you can see all these different filings. Well, here's another little bit of information. The Edgar system is based on RSS feeds. RSS feed is an old school type of technology that was made at the very early days of website building to be able to share content of information from one company to another company, or a different place to have like really cool websites that you're pulling information from everywhere. Well, Edgar utilizes this information. And what you can do is you can listen in to this RSS feed. So if you find an application or a program of any sort that listens into RSS feeds, you can listen into it right here. Now, one thing that you guys noticed is I was listening into for Mint Brokers, I believe it was. Yeah, so I want to know when Mint Brokers, because we know they are the ones that are behind that big pump a few months ago of them buying into a stock and holding it all up. So I want to know if they are ever going to do, if they're doing that type of stuff again. And so I'm listening to anything that they file underneath their company of what they're up to. And you can see what filings they're up to and what they're doing, and I have this tied into my RSS feed. Well, I actually have a program called Feedly, and when I click on this little icon, it subscribes to this page, and then over here with the Feedly website, I can see all the different filings of the companies that I'm listening to. And since I'm listening to them, it'll pop up over here of what they are doing and what they're up to, you know. And so this is super powerful bits of information to know. So for an example, if you're on a trade and you're trading it and all of a sudden they do a filing on you that they're doing an offering and the stock's moving down, at least right away you have an update that this happened to you. You know, I'm starting to get used to equity feed system. It seems to be 100% accurate, but you always need to have some type of backup. But very powerful to have RSS feeds notification throughout the day of any company that you're keeping an eye on to. And so this is a very powerful tool with the EDGAR system. Okay, Yahoo split site. I'm not a very big fan of it. I'm just going to show it to you because sometimes they'll pop up in here and they're not in Fidelity website and they're not in my TOS platform. So they do their format in this way where it's week by week and it doesn't give you a clear picture of it. So, you know, this is the way they have their splits set up day by day and what's happening. I don't use it very active. I just want you guys to be aware that this does exist within the Yahoo site. To me, it's just poorly made. But just let you guys know. OTC markets, I showed you a little bit of the OTC markets on there. So it's a lot easier to read than EDGAR. It loads up a little bit easier and it's easier to find the stocks. You don't have, you know, if I was you on EDGAR, I would save the search page as a hot spot to be able to go to. But it's easily to see filing sequence. And one of the big things that you guys probably have noticed, especially with Roland's website or Roland's DVD, is noticing the filing sequence. Okay, so like if we go into here, the biggest thing you guys want to look at is the filing sequence itself. Over time, as you guys are doing your research, I want you guys to look at the sequences of filings because this will give you a telltale story of what they're really doing in the background. Are they prepping for offerings? Are they ready to dilute the stock? You know, where they are sitting at. Like if you see a whole bunch of Form 4s just loaded up and you see like a little blimp onto the chart, you know that something is up inside of it, and then down the road there might be some news coming through, so you can be prepared for it. You know, so like, you know, with BPTH, right? So what's this? We have a 424B5, a 42B45, a 424B5. They are preloading this stock up with offerings. The offerings have already been put in place. They already knew they were going to do a reverse stock split. They know it's going to happen. So, you know, as shorts come into these stocks and they're looking at the stuff and they're like, oh yeah, look, they have a whole bunch of offerings setting up with the stock. I know to be able to short that, that's going to be another stock that's going to be dumped on. Well, with the stuff that I'm teaching you guys, I'm teaching you to look at this as what kind of setup is this really going to be? This is not just a short off the gate type of thing. You know that they did a reverse split. You know that they got news, there'll be news coming out because they got to pump up the stock. You know that they got filings preloaded up to be able to dump on it. But when you're looking into these stocks and you're looking at their 10Q, right? So stockholders' equity. So you look at their stockholders' equity, with it, you know, as of September 30th, 2018, they had $3 million in stockholders' equity. You know, that's not enough for them to be a drug research style company. You know they need more money. You know they're going to be able to do that. So you know, with the stockholders' equity being set at a certain point, you know that they did a reverse stock split. You looking at comparing from one reverse stock split to another on how big of a split they've done. You know that they're preparing for something bigger than just, oh, we're just going to do an announcement, a PR, and it's going to be crushed because we have all these filings offered. No, this was all orchestrated. This was at the very beginning what they were about to do with it. Is this how they're going to do it and what they're going to do are the questions on there. And it's through the filings that we get to find out this type of information. So, you know, before you even get into it, and it's kind of like the Hansel and Gretel story. We're looking at the breadcrumbs to the story, the breadcrumbs to be able to find our way home. Well, this is our breadcrumb home. We got the offering set up. You know that they did a shelf. You know they were out of money. You know that they need more money. You know that with the way they are set up, they don't have capabilities to raise a certain amount of money unless they get out of baby shelf restrictions. And we'll go over baby shelf restriction down the road. But baby shelf restriction basically means they need to be worth an MVP PHS of $75 million. And at the current float, at what they're able to do, they have to have a $44 price target for them to be able to get out of baby shelf restriction. It's either they get out of baby shelf restriction at $44 and some change, or they dilute the stock with a $9 price point down to the point where they get out at the 75 million. There's two different ways that they can be able to do that, but they need the money. And so by knowing these filings of what they're doing and looking at these crumbs that they're laying out for us, we know what they're setting up for. These are not all shorts, and that's what's happening is like these guys are seeing these reverse stock splits, and what made me excited this past couple weeks or past couple months is reverse stock split, tank, reverse stock split, tank, reverse stock split, tank. They're tanking down, right? But if you guys look at who's doing the string pulling, you know, HG, Renwright, they're going to make their money off of one of these stocks that's going to go supernova like this. So these are the strings that you're looking at. You're going to, with experience, as you guys are doing your research, you'll be able to look into the OTC markets. You'll be able to look at the breadcrumbs that we're seeing here. You'll see the sequence of it, and you'll be able to sit there and say, hey, you know what? I know what they're doing. I know what they're getting set up to. So this is just the thing. So, you know, the hard work is now where you guys are be collecting all the SEC information and all the filings and, you know, reading it and banging your head against it. But what's going to happen over time is you'll be able to be like me, or you're going to be like Roland, or you're going to be like Huddy, where you'll be able to look at this filing. You'll see the breadcrumbs right here, and you already know what they're doing. It's being laid out right in front of you. But through experience, we'll be able to have that. Okay, so next slide. So another thing too is websites come and go. These sites that I'm putting on this list are sites that have been around for years and years and years. You know, but I am only one person. This is my research that I've been doing. I'm just like you guys. I paid for all these different gurus and DVDs and all these subscriptions to find out sites. So since we have this amazing team of traders here, if there's any site that you guys like, send them my way so then I can add them to the list of stuff for us to be able to check out. Through us crowdsourcing all of this, we'll be able to be very informed traders to know what other sites are out there. You know, each of us is as great as we all are. We're only limited by our own spheres that we're trading with and our own experiences. So I really want you guys, if there's something you found on here, please DM me, send it to me so then we can add it to the group of different resources to be able to go through. Okay, so Feedly is, I kind of touched base onto this with you guys. Let me pull it back up. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so this is my RSS feeder. I did pay for it. It's like 25 bucks or something along those lines. It's pretty cheap. Let's see, how do I get out of this? So you can see. It's pretty well used company. Can't get out. I'm actually logged in. I don't want to maybe log myself out. So, but this is a tool that it listens to any RSS feeds. You don't have to use it for like Edgar. You can use it for any other company that has these RSS feeds. But these are the ones I like to listen to, like DFFN, the Billionaire Plays. You can go through the Edgar stuff, and as time goes on and you guys are building up your sites or your tools and resources, you can be able to find more different SEC filings to be able to be in here. So, you know, like for example, the Mint brokers, you can see their filings and what they're doing. It's kind of interesting. I looked at their audit for Mint brokers, and they're not worth much. As much as there's boasting on here of everything that is going on and what's he up to, but kind of. And also in this Edgar stuff, let me see if I can find a different stock. Let's do DFFN. There we go. We have an effect. So like if you want to, so if, like you're going through these filings and you see an effect out of nowhere, you can go into the effect, and then you can go and find out what that effect is attached to, and then what filings goes along with it. Right, so it's attached to this shelf. So here's an interesting thing. You go into the shelf, and then in the shelf gives you detailed information of who did the shelf, who did all the paperwork for the shelf, and it does like a little summary of what the shelf is. And so you can be able to track this. So that's another thing that if you want to, you can be able to track who's doing what and who's setting up these shelves. It's pretty legit. So yeah, so like the Feedly website keeps a monitor, and it just pops up. And you know, now that I'm more versed into the stocks, I like seeing these filings as they come out. So if you get the reverse stock split, and then you have a filing come out, you know they are building something up. So like for an example, WorkX, I think it was, or XWork. They first did a filing saying, hey, we got a customer review. They love our stuff, our new software, blah, 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 blah. And then I knew immediately that a customer review, but they're not having any contracts out. Guess what's coming up next? Contract, you know? And that's only through listening for these filings as they come through. So yeah, it's kind of a pain every so often, but you get a really good idea of sense of where this company is going through. So after you've done all your research on the company, you put your listening ears out there, like with the Feedly website, a new form comes up, you see it at evening when you're doing your reverse stock split. I mean, you're doing your research for normal stocks. You see that, oh, they have a customer review. You know that the next bit of information will be a contract, and then you'll be able to do that. And I took that trade and I made like $2 a share off of that. So get used to listening into all these different filings, and it gives you a really pulse on the actual company, and you know what they're going to be doing. Okay, so monitoring the sites or web changes. So Chrome has a monitoring system, but I really like this system here, and I'll show it to you guys. So I have this update scanner, and this is a Firefox plugin, and you can do your plugins. I believe it's under options plugins or something along those lines. But you know, we work on each platform with it. But in this plugin, it'll give me the information about the stock. So I have this plugin monitoring the Fidelity website of any types of change. So if an earnings calendar adjustment changes, it will let me know. A dividends adjustment, it'll let me know. Economic adjustment, it'll let me know. Or it'll do a reverse split adjustment, it'll let me know. And not only will it let me know, but it will also highlight which was adjusted. So, you know, if you have the previous month here and you have this big of a list, well, you know, to find out which one has been added or not. So like, for example, you guys are living very, very busy lives. You know, you guys have kids, you guys have jobs. you're taken away. You can't sit at the market 24/7 in front of it like some of these traders are. It's impossible, you know. But if you have this tool available for you, you know, you come to your computer, you get the message that the update scanner has popped up, and you're able to come to us, and you know exactly what has been updated on the month of February or the month of March. So that is a really cool tool to be able to utilize it, and I've been using it for some time now, and it's so accurate. Another really cool thing with it is you can change your settings with it. So you can say the title of it, the URL, how often to scan. I have it set for every 5 minutes. And then my change threshold is super low because I want to know anything that changes on it. I don't care what changes. I just want to know the change. So this is how I'm able to monitor my reverse stock splits. Give you guys another one. Visual ping. So the only downside with that page monitor is that it doesn't send me a email notification, or it doesn't send me any type of notification that a change has happened. So I have this visual ping. I paid for this package. It's 130 bucks. It checks a page 14,400 times a year. Basically, it checks it every hour. There is a free package, so you don't have to check it every single hour, and I may reduce it down the road. I just don't want to miss anything right now because, as we all know, a reverse stock split runs 10, 12 bucks. I mean, that's thousands of dollars off of 1,000 shares. So, you know, for me, it's worth monitoring this. You don't have to do every single day, every single hour like I do, but you can set it up this way. But what's important is that I have this with the notification. That it sends me to my email address with that life hack on my phone, right? So on my phone, I get the text message along with these images telling me what has changed on here. So once I see this, I know a reverse stock split has happened, and then I can be able to either log in with my phone and check on it, or I can come to my computer and check on it here. And then on my phone, it sends me two screenshots, one with the change and one without the change. So far, the accuracy on this hasn't been super high. It's not like the page update, but it's high enough for me that makes me happy that at least I get the reminder on my phone that I need to check my reverse stock splits. One of my biggest challenges through all this is keeping up to date with tracking all these reverse stock splits. I've been tracking them for a little bit over a year and trying to stay up with them. With running a bakery has been absolutely difficult. My mind's not always on the stocks. My mind is on all these different things that are happening in my life. So it's nice to have this kind of like reminder hit my phone to be able to tell me, hey, you know, check the website, you know. For your Google Chrome desktop users, there is a page monitor software, and this is how I found about Visual Ping, is because this page monitor software is the same as the Visual Ping company. And so I have an update letting me know that it's happened, and this actually gives me a little sound on my computer notifying me that a change has happened. So this is how I'm monitoring to keep up with the reverse stock splits. NASDAQ also has something where you can be able to get an email notification, and then now I'm messing around with that, converting that NASDAQ email notification as a text message on my phone with that life hack. So, you know, the biggest thing is keeping track of all these reverse stock splits. You know, life gets in the way, life will happen. You can't come to every single day to your computer, especially if you're a part-time trader. Well, this is going to be a perfect way for you to sit there and say, look, you got a reverse stock split, it's in the pipeline. After we get done with all our training, you'll be able to look at the stats on the stock and say, is this worth me even doing the research for? Because when you do the research, it does take an hour, 2 hours of your time, maybe 3 hours of your time. Or is this just something I don't need to do research on because the numbers don't match up with my Excel sheet? So These scanning capabilities, and one thing I really do like about the reverse stock split theory is this does this is probably one of the more easier stocks to trade as a means to as a part-time trader. If you hit just 5 of these a year and make 20 grand every single time, that's it. I mean, that's all you really need. And this web monitoring and utilizing these tools gives you that capability to live that busy life that you're living, being a wife, being a mother, being a father, living, being a business owner, whatever it is, of the capabilities to be able to do this. And that's one of the reasons why I really like Equity Feed, is because it gives me notifications. And with that life hack added to it, I know I'm not going to miss anything out there. But remember, no system is 100% perfect. You need backup systems in place so that you don't miss anything. Okay, so little bonus here are some more web tools, placementtracker.com. So who is behind all these types of stocks and what they're up to is monitored by this company, placementtracker.com. I found this website about 2 years ago, and I really didn't know what to make of this website. I didn't quite understand what it did, but what this company does is every year they will they'll send out a report, and they'll tell you who did the most private placements out of all the different companies that do it. They track them all, and if you have the money and the resources to pay for a subscription with Placement Tracker, do so and share with the group, because I have never been able to take a look at it because I'm still pinching my pennies, and with all my different platforms I'm using and trying to become a great trader just like everybody else. So if you have the resources, check it out. And so what's kind of cool is that it tells you what offerings, what has happened, who's done what. It keeps a score of it. Oh, matter of fact, they just updated this, or it's been a while since I checked it. So in here, it'll tell you who are the big hitters. H.G. Renwright as the most active placement agent. And then it tells you how much money, how many times did they do a transaction this year. Who did it, how many times, and H.G. Renwright, which I was kind of joking with Roland a few weeks ago, is this the same company that has those commercials where you need money now and everybody's singing? I don't know, it could be, but this is how much money they are doing. And this is the side that we want to be on. So you remember on this whole thing is they need us still. They need us to push that stock up, and they need us so that they can make all their money on the way down. There's not just one side where it's all short side on here. Like if you look at all the Twitter people and all these new short guys coming out, they're just hyping on the short side, short side, short side. Well, the problem with the short side is you need a ton of money to be able to buy these shares and make a lot of money with it. Well, what we're teaching here is that you guys can be able just to be able to find what they're doing, knowing their game plan, and be on the side of money. We have to be on the side of money on the way up and be on the side of money on the way down. And this is the guys who are doing this. So if you guys can find, and what we're going through, showing you how to figure out where the money is at and where is it going, it's nice to have these guys on your side. And here's your list. Okay, SEC filings. So Thomson Research this site. I liked it at the very beginning for me to be able to understand what these filings do and how they work. I'll use this to be able to read up upon them. It gives you a breakdown of the filings, what they mean. It gives you a breakdown of when you actually look into the SEC filing, what section does what, and all this type of stuff. So this is a really good site that helps you as you guys are learning about these filings to be able to go through and figure this all out. And then the big one is the NASDAQ rulebook. This is the whole book in its glory. Every single regulation that these guys have to be able to do. So this is what you can be able to come through, and they have a search feature on it, and then you can look up the different rules and stuff. Okay, I believe this is it for this week. This is week 2, gives you a understanding of all the different tools. Yep, that's the end of it for this week. I'm going to open this up to questions for everybody. I know this is a ton of information going over the tools. I will go into a deep dive for the newbie people of how to set up your Thinkorswim, how to set up your stocks to trade, how to set up your equity feed on there. So that you guys get a better understanding. I remember at the very beginning of learning all this type of stuff, when I first looked at Thinkorswim, I was just overwhelmed. And I really wish I had somebody to help me go through the step-by-step of this. Okay, so we are open up for Q&A. If you guys want to raise your hand, you can raise your hand to ask questions. Okay, so we got Benjamin, so I'm going to answer live. So when we track the reverse split supernovas, I am tracking stockholders' equity, OS, and their technicals based on the chart, percentage run, percentage drop before PR, number of days before PR, and a couple others. What else, in your opinion, is best to track to get the most out of your data? Let me pull this up. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so what I if I have an echo, let me know. I just got a message. Okay, no echo. Okay, good. Okay, so I have on my tracking Excel sheet, and I'm kind of hesitant to tell you what's in my tracking Excel sheet, but I want you guys to at least have a base to start out on. A lot of this information should be coming from the ASPEX website. I want you guys to do the work. I want you to read his twit longs, build out your Excel sheets from there, and go through the process of learning this. I know it's a little bit of a struggle to be able to go through it, but as you work through it, it's this process that will ingrain this whole thing with you. So I have symbol, I have split, what the split was. I have the date that the split happened. I have stockholders' equity. I have the volume date, and I have the days until news. So, and that's really important to find out days till news, because some of these stocks take 90 days. Some of them take 120 days. It's not all instant. So I know a lot of you guys are like, oh, the reverse stock split happened and it's going to pop right away. No, it doesn't. By looking through the data, you'll find out that it doesn't work that way. Find out how many days of squeeze on there. That's a good one to do. The industry that they're in, is it a biotech, is it medical, is it software? Do they actually have a product that they're doing? I like to track the price before the split, and then I like to track the price the day of the split. I want to know what they split to. It's just something for me. And the one thing that's super important that I have found, because it's not all about the $1. Just put that out to you guys. I put the price high of the day of the split. So I take the top tick of that day, the price high, and then I have the price the day before the news, and that gives me a percentage decrease. So what will happen is you'll have a lot of these stocks that have like an $8 price point or $9 price point after they did the reverse stock split. And then the price will either just kind of go sideways for a while, and then it'll slowly decline down to like $4 or $3 or $5 or whatever it is. And then what you're going to find is you're going to find out that there is an average percentage decrease that happens from the top tick of the day it does the reverse split to the day before the news happens. Another thing that you're going to find out is that the ones that don't do supernovas, the ones that don't have the 25 million share traded day, they will have a percentage decline that's too big. It's too great. And it will tell you that something else is happening with it. I know that for sure with some of these gas companies, they done a reverse stock split. They had like everything positioned in a certain way where it made me think it was going to be a supernova style stock, but it hit a percentage decrease down that it was too far. It was too far gone, at least in my personal opinion and my thought process. It was too far gone, and it turned out to be correct. It just kept on tanking all the way down to 5 cents. So, keep the track. And it's kind of cool thing to do is if you, on these new reverse stock splits, take that top tick of day one, and then at the end of each day, if you remember, put in the day's price where it closed at. And then they'll tell you, that will give you your percentage decline every single day. And then as you notice it, you'll see, oh, okay, it's now 10%. Now it's 15%. Now it's 20%. Oh, now it's getting to my zone where I see a lot of these supernovas take off. And that will give you an idea of how to keep an eye on it. So it's not just the dollar that's on there. It's the percentage decrease from the top tick of the stock. And by the way, since I'm on that topic of day one of the stock, and I know I'll hit this down the road, is that any stock that does news on the exact same day of reverse split is 99.9% a short. It's just going to tank. Okay, so we got the difference from the decrease of the stock, the top tick, and then the other thing you want to do is after it's done its big volume day, you want to be able to track what the top tick price was. So one, you can know how big of a percentage change that was, but also you can be able to times the top tick price on a big volume date by the float or the common shares outstanding, and that will help you with the baby shelf listing. So that gives you an idea of what are they really going after on that stock. I like to track the type of news it is. I like to track this if there's any known pattern that we trade as traders know with the stock. So one thing that you guys got to remember is that there is another people on the other side of this whole story. And on those people on the other side of the story, they're looking at the exact same chart we're looking at, except for they're the ones that have the legal documentation to pull the strings because they are blessed by the SEC. And so when they're looking at the chart the same way we're looking at the chart, they know what sucks in shorts, they know what gets longs excited, and they know what gets interest into the stock. And we'll get into price bid stabilization down the road, but look at the patterns of what the stock was doing and then what they're doing with it. So when you're looking at these, look at the intraday chart. What did the intraday chart tell you on the day of the volume? What the stock was doing throughout the whole time. So that's another thing that you want to be able to track. It's kind of like the pattern that was on there. Another thing I track is how many employees the company has. I also track what country the company is in. I also like to track the float from the previous year and then the last reported float, because that will tell me, are they actively diluting the stock? Then after that, I like to track the float on the last filing. And then I like to find out what the, not the float, but the common shares outstanding is after the last filing. And then that allows me to do my formulas to figure out an approximate float. You'll never know the right float. And then whatever else you guys want to be able to track with it. SSR is another thing you want to track with it as well, especially the stuff that you have real-time information on it. Okay, so that question is done by Benjamin. Very good question. Thank you, sir. Okay, question from Josh. Does anyone know a good place to see SSR status? STT has it, but it is wrong a lot. Yes, you can go to the website. I think it's NASDAQ listing. So this is where all the halts are sitting at, and it tells you the reason for it, and if it needs more news, and you can do the research for the halts. So, yeah. All right, done. All right, going through chat. Okay, from JP, is Mouse Without Borders free? Yes, it's totally free. Mouse Without Borders is totally free. And it's right here. So Mouse Without Borders, and then you can be able to download it here onto your computer, and it works really good. I am more than beyond pleased with Mouse Without Borders, with everything it's doing. The links from the webinar will be put onto the PDF slides that I will print out. I will send it over to Roland so that he can post it onto the Discord channel. All right, that's it. All right, any other questions for week 2? Seems like this is a wrap. Oh, we got one question here. Benjamin, allowed to talk.
Can you hear
All right,
me?
I can hear you.
All right. So about the dilutive stuff, going back into the filings that you were talking about earlier. So it's like you got the 424s and the S1s and all that toxic stuff usually. So is that something that you'll look at as to be like a criteria for a potential supernova, like how BPTH and DRIES did that?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that you want to look at when you're looking at these filings. First, you want to see the state of the company where they're standing at. So like the $2.5 million, the stockholders' equity, you know, we talk about the $2.5 million saying, oh yeah, this is the threshold because it's a listing requirement for NASDAQ to stay with NASDAQ, right? Different platforms that the stock is traded at, it will have its own stockholders' equity requirement. Also on NASDAQ, there's 2 different types of NASDAQs. There's the market and there's global. And the global will have a higher listing requirement for the stockholders' equity. Amex will have their own, they have different tiers of stockholders' equity depending on what type of company you're going to be at. So when you're looking at these 424B5s and the 424B3s, and you're looking at the shelving, you want to look at the health of the company. Yeah, okay, so they have $3 million. So they're not getting dinged by NASDAQ for having too little stockholders' equity. But the question is this enough money for them to last and stay in business? You know, so when they're loading up on these shelves and you're seeing what they're up to, you know, what you want to think about, how is this going to be benefiting them? So for an example, if they do a reverse split and the reverse split puts them at 16 million shares outstanding and their price point, let's say, is $8, where does that mean to them financially? What they want to be at? So the question is, are they setting these filings for what purposes? What's the reason that they're trying to do it? Like BPTH, perfect example of what they are setting this whole system to be set up for. And this one, the goal was raising money for the company. They're a pharmaceutical company. They need to be able to need millions of dollars down the road to continue on financing the company. They're under what's called baby shelf restriction, which means they're not valued at MVPHS of 75 million. So now the question is, all right, if I'm going to be taking this long, and what I'm going to do with this company, what is this company really trying to do? Do they need money so badly now that they're just going to dilute the hell out of the company? Are they in fault with their loans? Are they in default with them? Or are they sitting pretty well with their loan with the companies right now? And they just need more money. So it's kind of like the question of where are they sending at now that allows you to decide where it's going to be at. You know, with BPPH, I was talking to Huddy about it quite a bit. He goes, "Where do you think this could go?" And I'm like, "Well, if you look at the price now at 75 million shares, they means that they need a float of 8 million shares to raise up to get out of baby shelf listing." So when I told him, I was like, "Well, looks like $44 at the current float price or the current common shares outstanding." 75 million divided by common shares outstanding gives you a price point of $44. And that gives you a really good idea of where it's going to get to. How often do we see that happening? Slim to none. But when you're in a stock like this, you want to be able to know what are they really going after.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Right. So what's going to happen now, and it goes to with the homework I want you guys to be able to do, is use the RSS feed with Edgar, follow along with BPPH, look for them to be doing amendments to their shelved and amendments to their offerings, because most likely with a new price point of $75, this opens up a whole new world for them to be able to dilute the stock. So what they're going to do is with the top tick, they are allowed to use a top tick in their filings for the next 60 days as at their price point. And they can do $75 top tick point, and they can get out baby shelf restriction. And baby shelf restriction basically means they're only allowed to raise 1/3 of their market value. They're definitely out of that now. So now they can raise up full market value of the company, and they're going to target $75. I guarantee it. You'll see it in the filings. And then with the $75, that's going to open up the world for them on millions upon millions of dollars of diluting.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Cool. Thanks for the great question.
All right. Yep.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions on it? Any inspiration you guys are seeing on there? It looks like we have a wrap for today. For the people who were not able to be on this live, make sure you guys send me a DM for any questions you have about this presentation. I'll be working on the videos for setting up the different platforms in detail, so we're not wasting our time on here. This is more meant for the presentation. Cool. You're welcome, Roland. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Awesome, you guys. Cool. Alrighty, so let me make sure that I stop the recording, and we are all set.